This man is a curse on womankind. I'm painting the women of the mythology epic Kalevala, and the story of this character is short but tragic. But to get to her part, we first need to start with the story of Kullervo. Kullervo's side plot in Kalevala begins when Untamo is fishing in Kullervo's fishing waters, and Kullervo in turn takes the fish from Untamo's fishing nets. This starts a back and forth between them, kinda like Donald Duck and his neighbor Jones. And this little quarrel snowballs into a whole war between these families. Untamo and his troops finish off Kullervo's whole extended family and burn down their cabins. Only a maid-servant girl who's expecting Kullervo's child survives. Untamo takes on this girl as a cleaner, and so Kullervo's son, Kullervo, is born in Untamola. Kullervo is an angry baby plotting his revenge on Untamo already in the crib. Untamo tries to off Kullervo in many ways, including enclosing him in a barrel and throwing him in water, but is unsuccessful every time. As Kullervo grows up, he starts sabotaging all the work he does on purpose, and finally Untamo sells him off as a slave to Ilmarinen. Ilmarinen's new wife, Louhi's daughter, previously the Maiden of North or Maiden of the Rainbow, bakes a rock inside Kullervo's bread as he's going off to herd the animals. Maiden of North frees the cattle and bear to the pasture. Kullervo tries to cut the bread with his father's heirloom knife, and it hits the rock and goes dull. Kullervo calls Maiden of North the W word and starts plotting his revenge. Kullervo herds the cattle directly into the swamp and gathers a pack of wolves and a bear by singing spells. While going to milk the cows, Maiden of North gets ripped apart by the beasts. She promises to make it up to Kullervo for her prank, as the bear and the wolves are ripping her limbs apart. She calls out the Supreme God Ukko and asks him to eliminate Kullervo, but Ukko doesn't reply, and this is the end for the Maiden of North. Ilmarinen hears Kullervo's joy and celebration in his workshop. Ilmarinen finds his dead wife, and Kullervo flees. Walking in the woods, Kullervo comes across an old blue-hooded woman who tells him his mother, father, sisters and brothers are actually still alive. Kullervo finds them on the border of Lapland according to instructions. Kullervo's mother thought he was missing and tells him his older sister got lost going to pick berries and is probably dead. Kullervo's mother was looking for her for a week and arrived at a high hill and called out for her. The hills replied, "Stop calling, she won't return." Kullervo isn't much help around the house. He doesn't seem to know how to do anything or does everything wrong. So his father sends him to go pay taxes. On his way back, Kullervo attempts to lure every girl she meets into getting in his sleigh. Every one of them firmly declines. On the border of Lapland, he is passing by another girl. This time Kullervo ups the ante and offers apples and nuts to eat besides just the warm blankets. It's a snowy winter and the girl must be cold and hungry, but she still angrily declines. Kullervo grabs her by force. The girl screams she'll break the sleigh unless he lets her go. Kullervo opens his treasure chest and apparently the girl changes her mind and stops fighting him. ... The morning after, the girl asks Kullervo which great family he is from. Kullervo replies that he is Kullervo's son, to which the girl proclaims that she is Kullervo's daughter. She had gone picking raspberries and strawberries, and after 3 days she couldn't find her way back home anymore. She went up a big hill and started crying and screaming, and the hill told her, "Stop crying, they won't hear you all the way home." She wishes she had died at that moment. And after saying that, she drops down from the sleigh, runs into the river and drowns in the current, finding safety in the underworld, mercy in the waves. This is already the second young woman in Kalevala drowning herself. Kullervo hurries home and tells his mother that the woman he seduced on the way home turned out to be his lost sister and she's now gone. He decides to end his life, but his mother tells him not to and suggests he goes into hiding to calm down until time heals the wounds. Kullervo instead decides to pay back some old debts to Untamo. Kullervo prepares for war against Untamo and says goodbyes to his family. No one else besides his mother no longer cares whether he lives or dies. On the way, Kullervo finds out about all of his family members passing away one by one, but doesn't turn back. In Untamola, he finishes off everyone with a sword he got from Supreme Guard Ukko and sets the place on fire. Kullervo returns to an empty home, except for a black dog that accompanies him to the woods after Kullervo has mourned his family for 2 days. Kullervo arrives at the scene where he seduced his own sister and ends his own life with the sword. Väinämöinen hears about Kullervo's death and declares to the people of Kalevala that they shouldn't misraise a child because a boy like that will never become a man, no matter how old he lives. My takeaway from this is that anyone could be a victim to someone like Kullervo, but this is a warning especially to young women who are the most likely targets of men like Kullervo. If you meet a man like this, who's had a very difficult childhood, who's been abandoned by his parents in some way, run. Most men do not deal with their childhood trauma when they become adults. You cannot save someone who's that unwell mentally and probably has a whole personality disorder. Which is okay for me to say because we're talking about a fictional character here. Whereas if you call a real person a narcissist publicly online, you could get sued for defamation even if you're right, and maybe especially if you're right, because a narcissist is exactly the type of person to sue you for defamation for simply telling the truth. But the point is that your time, energy, youth, compassion, care and money will be completely wasted on someone like him who you feel pity for. He will destroy you and ruin the lives of the closest people around you in the process of destroying himself. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's kind of unclear why this Kullervo section is even included in Kalevala. It seems like a side plot. These characters aren't very related to the rest of Kalevala. I saw somewhere that Lönnrot just wanted to include this tragic, epic story inside Kalevala and tried to weave it into the stories of the existing characters with the knife and bread story with the Maiden of North, for example. Kullervo's sister is one of those female characters in Kalevala who doesn't even have a first name. I also couldn't find many art pieces of Kullervo's sister online, so it made me want to paint her story even just for that reason alone. But in the artworks I did find, she's either shown as drowning in the river or berry picking in the forest. I've been adding a bird to every painting, but if there was a bird related to this part of the story, I must have missed it, so I added an owl flying over her, witnessing her agony. I put together a reference photo from a couple of stock photos of a waterfall or a rapid and a western barn owl and took a photo of myself looking like a hobo to use as a reference for the facial expression and the pose. I used the Finnish national costume book as a reference for the clothes. I painted on cardboard this time and cut it with a carpet knife to fit my scanner and primed it with gesso. I covered the sketch with matte medium to prevent it from smudging the paints after transferring the sketch onto the cardboard. Some of the acrylic paints were pretty thick and dried up, so I added matte medium and water to make them flow better and painted this blended smooth running water from the waterfall or rapid for the background. If you want to color in your own Kalevala story, I do have coloring pages available of the women of Kalevala I've painted, and depending on when you watch this video, they're either on Patreon or in my coloring shop. But if you want to hear another story from Kalevala, watch this video next. See you there!